We're here inside Streit USA Armoring, and this is Eric Carlson. Eric, thank you for letting me come in and take a tour of your facility.
Thanks for coming
I really
today,
appreciate
Pam.
it. Eric, take me through the steps that you would go through. Typically, if I was a client and I was purchasing an armored vehicle.
Sure, Pam. Well, I'd like to let you know that we moved into this facility in September of 2012. Previously, we were at a facility for 5 years on Fain Street in North Charleston. We went from 30,000 square feet into 75,000 now. We have 7 production lines, and we have the capacity to do 70 vehicles a month out of this facility.
Wow, it's a very impressive facility. It's actually very clean too. I was really
Thank you.
surprised
I pride myself, and so do all the employees, on keeping it clean. I've come from a background where you just don't clean up for when the customer comes. You keep it clean. It's a safe work environment and a clean work environment.
Got it. All right, so how does this magic actually take place?
Well, we'll bring a car in from an OEM manufacturer, say like a Mercedes-Benz S550 that's behind us.
Right.
We buy it brand new. We'll bring it in here and we will strip it completely down. There'll be nothing in the vehicle at all.
Wow, everything's gone.
Everything's gone. All electronics, the dashboard, the sun visors, everything is completely taken out.
Okay.
And then we'll start the process where we'll fit the ballistic steel in the vehicle, and then it goes through a 10-stage process here. We have 10 stages. We do lean manufacturing, 6 Sigma, and 5S here.
Which are the standards?
The standards,
okay.
Right. And recently we just became ISO 9000 2008 certified.
Oh,
so
okay.
that's for standards around the world, our quality standards.
Okay, Eric, so there are 10 processes or 10 stages to go through in this process, right?
That's correct, ma'am.
Could you take us through those?
Sure, absolutely. Before we start the process, though, there's a pre-inspection of the vehicles. We bring them into receiving over here. Quality control comes out and they check the vehicle. Even though it's brand new and it comes from the dealer, we got to
just a normal vehicle.
Normal vehicle.
Okay.
We need to make sure there's nothing wrong with it.
Oh.
So we do a thorough inspection prior to us disassembling it, all the way down to the temperature of the AC to make sure when we ship it back out, it's the same temperature.
Wow, okay. And then you go to, that's step 1, and then you go?
We actually go to stage 1 then, and that's
stage 1, okay.
Stage 1, yeah, and that's where we'll bring the vehicle in and we'll start the process. The first thing they'll do is they'll put a substance over the vehicle, and it's like a lubricant that'll make cleaning afterwards a little bit easier, and then we put a protective film over the whole vehicle for any grinding or weld splatter, because when we're taking the vehicle through the whole process, there's grinding and welding, maybe not in that stage, but in another stage, so we want to make sure the car is protected.
The paint from
the paint
from the
outside, correct. And then we start to disassemble. We'll take everything out of the car. Everything is logged. We put them in the containers, and the containers are locked. Yeah. And what we'll do is log everything that goes in that off of that vehicle, and then the supervisors log it in, and they lock it up. And then in stage 5, when we go to reassemble, they'll unlock it and sign all the parts back out to the employees.
Put it back together.
And put it back together. Correct.
Armored. Wow. Okay. Very impressive.
And the next stage is stage 2. What we do is they'll pre-assemble all the ballistic steel that's going to go in the vehicle. We have it laser cut on our laser machine. We put it on stands so it's easier for the employees to take. And more or less, I used to tell people it's like a jigsaw puzzle. They need to put it together, and the steel is marked. There's a heat number on there. We track that. We use an overlap system, so the steel will be overlapped for ballistic integrity, and then weld it, because if you just butt the steel up and weld, a bullet could penetrate a weak spot through the steel.
I understand.
So it's overlapped.
Makes sense.
But in stage 2, they're just doing the fitting. And then it goes to stage 3. They'll fit the floor and the roof. Stage 4 will be final weld. That's where all the welders get in there, and they'll start the process of finish welding the vehicle out.
Okay, Eric, we're moving on to stage 4, and you said it was welding, right?
Correct. In stage 4, that's where we do the finish welding. Prior to stage 4, the doors are taken off and they're armored while the other employees are doing stage 1 through 4.
Oh, okay.
At stage 4, they'll do the finish welding, and they'll also put the doors back on, and they'll do overlaps. We call them bullet catchers, that where a bullet can't penetrate the compartment, they'll do an overlap around the door inside.
Right, that's that thing you were talking about that
protects
it. Okay.
Right. So if it's on an angle, a bullet can't penetrate into the cab area. Stage 5, what they'll do is we take it into the spray booth. We prime the inside of it. All the steel's primed so it doesn't rust. And then it's brought back out of the spray booth and put in stage 5. And then that's when they start putting all the electronics back into the vehicle and start laying out where all the wiring will go, and start assembling the dashboard, the air conditioning units in the back. All the technical stuff will be start putting back together in stage 5.
So you actually are armoring everything around, even around the radio and...
Correct.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep. And prior to them installing that, we put vinyl around the overlaps. So it looks like an OEM feature because you have leather throughout the car. We put a leather vinyl around the overlaps. So then when they put it back together, it looks, when you open the door, later on in the tour, we'll show you a vehicle that's armored and see if you can tell the difference of it.
Those little details make all the difference,
Correct.
I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
And then we move on to stage 6.
Stage 6, it's still putting back together the assembly part of it.
Right.
That's where the plastic section will get in. They'll start putting all the plastics back in the vehicle.
Plastics meaning?
The door panels, the headliners. In a Suburban, for instance, the whole back of your vehicle has plastics around the quarter panels and all that.
Okay.
They'll start putting that into the vehicle at that time. That procedure takes a little long because everything needs to be hand cut. It's a precision because when we're adding the ballistic steel in, you just can't put the OEM parts back in. They all need to be trimmed down.
Okay, got it.
So it's more or less a hand trimming of the plastics to be put back into the vehicle.
And each step is, it seems to me like each step is not necessarily the same amount of time.
Some stages are a little bit quicker.
Right.
We set it up though. That's why we have a stage 6 and 7 where putting it back together is a little bit longer. So that's why we have 2 stages there for that process there.
Okay.
But normally it's a day in each stage. We have 2 employees in each stage. Just in case if someone calls out, they have a backup that someone can come in there. So we have 2 employees in each stage that work in that stage consistently and do the same thing over and over again to get good at it, to help quality and production time.
Right. Okay, so what happens in stage 7?
Stage 7 is where they're going to start putting the ballistic glass in. There's a ballistic glass that goes in these vehicles. It'll range from 39 millimeters all the way up to 72 millimeters thick. It can weigh 150 pounds up to 500 pounds. So we have a machine that'll lift the windshield glass in its place. It's suction cupped and they'll put that in. So they'll start assembling and putting the glass in stage 7.
I was amazed out actually seeing it in the lobby that you can really see very well through the glass.
Yes, the glass is very optical. They use a low iron glass in there because of the thickness, so you get better optics that you can see through. There is a little distortion, but that would be typical because of the thickness of glass.
Okay.
Then we move to stage 8, that's final assembly. That's where we put the whole front end back on the vehicle because that's all taken off. It's easier to work on the vehicle on the production line without the fenders and hood on there.
Oh, okay.
So we'll do a final assembly there. Everything is put back on the vehicle. Prior to putting the hood and the fenders on, we have a department that makes the ballistic battery protection and ECM boxes. We'll show you that later.
Oh, wow. So in case the battery
gets shot, the vehicle doesn't stop, or the computer, because if the computer's shot out, it will stop.
We know that.
So that's pre-made prior, and then they'll assemble that and put that in on stage 8 also.
Wow, so many things I didn't even realize.
Right, and then after that it moves to stage 9. We call that gas tank protection, but it's also under armoring because that needs to be done. So it goes to stage 9 and it's put up on a lift, and employees can work underneath the car safely on a hydraulic lift. If they just need a gas tank protection, they'll put that on. Some vehicles get a full ballistic shield underneath, so at that time they'll put that ballistic shield on that in that stage 2 and stage 9.
Got it. So it's protected underneath,
sides,
everything.
Correct.
Okay.
They're normally protected to two hand grenades going off at the same time.
Wow. All right.
And then after stage 9, it goes to the final, which is quality insurance. We have our own stage for that, give the quality team a day to go over everything that was done on the vehicle. However, during the stages, there's a sign off for quality. Every stage needs to be signed off by quality control before it moves on to stage 10.
I see. So it doesn't move
past the stage. Right. If quality hasn't signed off on that, it doesn't move on. But they'll do a comprehensive inspection in 10. And as I explained when we received the car in 10, now they're doing a delivery inspection. They'll make sure the air condition is running at the same temperature, everything is fit form the way it was when it came in from the OEM manufacturer.
Right. Now, I kind of figured out how long I think it might take to go through the whole process, but
typically it takes 10 business days, 2 weeks, depending on the threat level and what we're armoring. Certain vehicles will take a little bit longer if we have to put a communications package in there. So in stage 6, where we do the electronics, it might take an extra day or so because we're adding different electronics for different government agencies, so it takes a little bit longer. So anywhere between 2 weeks to 4 weeks is a time to complete an armored vehicle.
Eric, this has been amazingly fascinating. Thank you for taking me on a tour. I really appreciate that. And you know, one thing I was really impressed with is that the vehicle looks like a normal vehicle when it comes out of here. You can't really tell the difference between the two. So that was really fascinating. Thank you again.
Thanks for coming, Pam.